Welcome back to part two of the Digital Service Playbook. If you haven't seen part one, go ahead and pause this video right now and watch that one first. But for those of you who've been following along, welcome back. But first, good evening, Agile acquisition enthusiasts. Welcome back to the Underground Digital Tiki Bar. It's Friday night, and that means it's time for another episode of Agile Acquisitions and Alcohol. Cheers. On tonight's episode, we're going to wrap up the Digital Service Playbook with plays 7 through 13, and let's get started. Play number 7, bring in experienced teams. Very important that the teams that you bring to solve the problem have actually done the real work in the wild. One of the ways you can assess this is when you're evaluating different vendors, you don't look at past performance as much because past performance has very specific bar requirements on how you can analyze it or assess it, but you actually look at past experience and you incorporate that into your technical assessment. You can do things like looking at existing code repositories or existing products or web pages or web services that they've developed and assessing them for functionality and usability. Number 8, choose a modern technology stack. The technology is only as good, or the solution is only as good as the technology that it's built on. You want to make sure that your solution is scalable, that it's accessible from the technology that your users are using, whether it's mobile or web or desktop based. And you want to make sure that your technology is modern in the form of cybersecurity and protecting the user's information and accessible and compliant with all of the things that allow people with disabilities to be able to use it. And you want to make sure that your technology stack is built in such a way that it has an open architecture and that you can use APIs that can plug in, or other vendors who have other capabilities have APIs which they can plug into your technology solution. Number 9, deploy in a flexible hosting environment. Pay for what you're using, scale up, scale down, have a responsive environment that actually adapts to what your needs are, whether you're building and writing the code or whether the users are using it. A lot of capabilities that the government delivers is peak times. Think tax services. The IRS systems have a greater usage from the public around tax season. So you want to build on an environment that can scale to that, but you don't want to necessarily pay for that capacity. If you had fixed servers, for example, you'd be paying to run servers that can support the absolute maximum expected capability or availability that you might have to provide. That's very expensive and a lot of wasted money. Number 10, automate testing. Testing should be continuous. It should be automated in such a way that you can push a button, run that test, and know quickly if there is issues. This is all part of the failing fast, agile, and iterative model. You want to, every time that you complete a sprint, you want to include testing, or every time you push code, you want to run testing to make sure that what you're building isn't going to break something or introduce vulnerabilities to the product. Number 11, manage security and privacy through reusable processes. You want to make sure that you have a standardized process to protect critical information so that your users trust you and trust your system, and so that you aren't going to open up anybody to vulnerabilities that are going to put themselves or their information at risk. Number 12, use data to drive decisions. So often, especially in the government, we have people who make decisions based on feelings or past experience. And while sometimes you have to go with your gut, but when data is available or could be available, you want to use data to drive those decisions. Have a technician in the room when you're making decisions about technology and back up those decisions with data. I love collecting data, I love studying data, and I love using that to inform decisions through experimentation, analysis, and then implementation. And number 13, last but not least, default to open. To the greatest extent possible, make the information available. If you're building something with taxpayer dollars, make the information available to the taxpayers. If you make information available, especially the vast amounts of information that the government has, then innovative people in industry will use that data to build amazing tools for the government, so we don't have to waste money building things. We can simply procure things that exist, that work, because they were built by people who are motivated to build the best possible product they can so that they can sell it, and also so they can maintain it because they want to be able to scale it and sell it elsewhere. Also, build open architectures, as I mentioned before, so that other vendors' solutions can be plugged in and it prevents vendor lock-in. So there you have it, the 13 plays of the Digital Service Playbook. Thank you to all the brilliant people who contributed to pulling this list together. I hope you found this useful. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. Feel free to contribute as a Patreon to continue making this channel better. And until next week, cheers.